Welcome back to the Alone Together podcast for the Loners Aren't Alone. I'm Journey.
And I'm Layla.
And for those of you who are watching, listening, whatever, as y'all can see, we have a special guest on the podcast today.
Hello.
My lovely friend, Tiana. Yes, it's Black History Month, y'all, and we decided we need a activist on the podcast.
Period.
Someone our age, someone who's active in the community. We go to school together and we're making it happen. Young people making it happen.
Yes.
And what better way to highlight that than put it on the pod? So before I, do her little introduction, I want to mention that we are highlighting Black businesses and our peers on our social media. So you can check that out on Instagram at alone_together podcast. But let me introduce Miss Girl right here. Tiana Day, a 20-year-old activist, speaker, and the founder of the nonprofit organization Youth Advocates for Change. Tiana has been named CNN's 2020 Hero of the Year, Young Wonder, a Golden States Warrior, Bay Area Impact Warrior, and recognized by the San Francisco Commission on the Status of Women for her intersectional activism. She has also spoken on panels for companies such as the New York Times, Adobe, Instagram, Twitter, and Essence Magazine. She is currently attending the University of Southern California, right on, at the Ivan Young Academy, pursuing a bachelor's degree in arts, technology, and the business of innovation with a minor education and society. I'm out of breath. But period, as I should.
Yes.
So, yay, give it up for Miss Girl. I'm so happy to have you on here. Today, we are going to really be talking about activism, getting in the community, what it means to be Black, how that, plays a role in our life, and just Black History Month, we got to talk about it. We got to open it up. So, to get it, kicked off and everything, what made you want to start your nonprofit, and what is it all about? Talk to us.
Yes, so thank you for that lovely intro. I am so excited to be here. Alone Together is my favorite podcast. I post about it on Instagram. I tell everybody about it. Like, this podcast is really healing for so many people, and those of you who are watching know it. So I'm excited to be here, share my story. I'm the founder of a 501c3 nonprofit organization called Youth Advocates for Change. And our mission is to amplify youth voices through intersectional social justice issues through creative arts. So for me, I just think people think of activism in ways where you're standing and you're protesting. Yes. And yes, that is activism, but activism is so much more than what mainstream media makes it look like. Yeah, activism is really getting into the community. It's being able to use your talents and your passions to create change and really find your purpose and alignment through making change and doing things for the community. So that's really what made me want to start it, but also my upbringing, growing up in a predominantly white area, the only Black girl in my school, and having this constant identity crisis and not really knowing who I was and not really knowing what I was here on earth to do. I think you guys talk a lot about mental health, and that played a huge role in my upbringing as well. Just really feeling this lack of sense of belonging. And I really was able to find that through activism and the Black Lives Matter movement.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And, really realizing how much my identity plays a part in my life became a huge center point to why I started calling people out who were racist at my school, calling attention to issues and really making sure that I was creating representation for the generations that come after me, because I think in high school I was so focused on getting out in those 4 years and I didn't care I just want to be out of school.
You weren't in the moment.
I wasn't in the moment. I was so in the future, what am I going to do for myself?
I feel like that's such a thing in high school.
Yeah.
It's so much college, and we forget about the now. We forget about the presence, the journey of high school, and then we in college, man, I wish I could go back. I find myself saying that so much, even though I wanted to get out of high school so bad. I'm always I would love to go back to high school right now and just take it slower and do more, in high school. Mm-hmm. I feel like I was not tapped in.
Right. And I definitely wasn't. And, it was COVID 2020. Mm-hmm. Pandemic was hitting. I was seeing the effects of two pandemics. The COVID-19 pandemic, and everybody is in quarantine. And then also this pandemic of people waking up to white supremacy and the systemic barriers against Black people, police brutality, all of these different themes. And I was just really inspired by young people throughout history, really, who are in the front lines of these movements.
They really be the youngins.
Yeah. Yes, like we have so much power, and young people don't realize that because we're told by society that we need to wait till we're 18 or have a degree to be accomplishing things. Like I really just wanted to create a place that inspired people to take the action now and take it through what they're already passionate about, because everything in life is so intersectional. It just depends on the perspective you look at it through.
True. Yes. I love that. We talk all about art and activism in my class, and I don't think people realize how creative you could be when it comes to activism. Like you said, not everything has to be a protest. Like I know you did a photo shoot. Like that's a really cool way to bring activism just into art in general. But you have a history of activism in your family. So can you talk about how you found out about that and what your ancestors before you did in activism?
Yes. So I would say when I started the organization, I was 17 years old, couldn't even legally sign my name on the paper. And I started off because I led a protest across the Golden Gate Bridge. And I was...
Which was huge,
the biggest 50,000 people shut the Golden Gate Bridge down. Shut it down.
Yeah.
At 17 years old.
It was crazy. 18 hours of organizing. There was no time. I really... When we talk about urgency, I saw the urgency. I took the action.
Okay,
and
Pastor Tiana.
Yeah. We just came back from church, so I'm gonna tell them. I'm gonna let them through me. But really, like I just knew that the time is now, and when you see people take action, you have to use the momentum to make sure that the messages that you feel you have to deliver come through. And so, I saw the opportunity. Someone had obtained a permit for this protest across the bridge, but no one was willing to lead it. And I was like, I'm 17 years old, and there's nothing, like, if you really dream of something.
If not you, then who?
If not me, then who? And it could have been someone who really, wasn't as passionate or wasn't as, had, like, the mindset that I did and all this stuff. So for me, it was really an impulsive moment. And I don't believe that it was my own being, my own self that like decided to do that, because that's so unlike me. I struggle with anxiety a lot, and I said I'll do it, and the girl's like, okay, it's tomorrow. I'm like, cool, like I'll be there. And my family and I brought 3 cases of water bottles. Like my dad was begging people on Facebook to come. They didn't think anybody was going to come. They're so worried. Our permit was up to 300 people, but I really thought like 10 were going to show up. But it didn't matter to me how many people were behind me. It was just like a call to action. Like, like I was just moved really by higher power, by something to do that. And I show up the next day, 18 hours later, from deciding that I'm going to lead this protest, and now there's 50,000 people walking behind me on this bridge. And I had no idea until I'd gone home and turned on the TV, and people were still on the bridge marching. People had taken over the bridge. I'm seeing like the helicopter footage and stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, I started that like 3 hours ago. They're still on the bridge. Like, and that was really the moment where I was like, I have a lot of power. Like my voice has a lot of power. Young people have a lot of power. Because yesterday I wasn't no activist. Yesterday I woke up and I was depressed and sad and like about things that really don't matter. But this is a moment that I know is going to matter for the rest of my life, and I want to continue to expose people to that perspective. And like everyone has that power in them to do that. Yeah, so
everybody has a voice.
Exactly. And it's a blessing, really. But I found, so all of that happened, and I started my nonprofit that same day. And yeah, it was action. Like I was moving quickly. Urgency. And yeah, I just took that action, and my dad goes, "You remind me a lot of myself when I was younger." And I'm like, okay, cool. Like we look like each other. Like, like, yeah, sure. And he's like, no, like I was organizing, for Rodney King, back when I was your age. Wow. Yeah. And then
it's crazy, like you didn't know.
Yeah. No, I really didn't. Like I'm sure he may have said.
That's how you know it's your calling. I feel like, because that's amazing, honestly. Like really, that you did not know that whole time. But keep going,
man. And then it gets crazier because I mean I know my family history like very very loosely, but then we really started bonding over it and getting closer about it, and then. I found out my grandfather was a Black Panther, and I was like, "Y'all never told me none of this. Are you serious?"
That's a flex.
It's really, it really is one of my biggest flexes in activism. I'm like, bro, it's really in
It's
me.
in me.
It's
It's
in my
in your-
blood.
I
Like, I
was
would
about to say that.
This is my
It's in her
calling.
period.
Hey.
No matter how bad I wanted to assimilate and pretend that I could fit in with everybody else and have the same mindset as everyone else, and just like, no, I straighten my hair and like would stay out the sun so I wouldn't get darker. Like, it was really that deep to me. Like, I was really ashamed to be myself because of my environment.
I feel you.
And like, no matter what, like, happened in my life, I still came to this realization, this calling, which I think is so beautiful because really it's in me. Like, that's what my ancestors, that's what people like have brought me on this
drive
earth
to organize the Golden Gate.
Right. I knew it was in her when she was talking about it at the kickback. We went Black Liberation on them.
We were really just trying to hang out and we were going in.
Yeah.
Amen.
I feel it though. I feel that way too. And like, I found out not too long ago, like in the recent years, that my great grandma was an activist and helped organize in Michigan for the Great Farmers United March.
Oh wow.
And the woman that she worked with in it, her books like are exclusively at UCLA, which I thought was so random and cool. I was like, wow, this
You need
is like
to go read
a full circle. And I emailed her actually, the lady that she helped organize, and she was like, "Oh, I remember your grandma." And I was
That's
like,
hard.
Oh my God.
So
The world is
cool.
so connected and scary.
And then I got to meet Dolores Huerta, who also worked with her. She was a huge activist, worked side by side with Cesar Chavez. But she works now, like, basically helping students that are getting put into the prison pipeline from school, and works with, like, cities in California where Black students are suspended more than white students and helps them, like, get out of it. But can you talk about your experience as a Black student at a white school and what that was like and how you were mistreated?
I feel like before we start, like I was gonna say, like how we always talk about being outcast, I definitely feel like activists are outcasts.
Definitely.
You know?
Definitely.
Like people who speak out against what's happening are the outcasts.
Especially in this day and age.
Yes. And especially just being a Black advocate or any minority advocate, like you're going against America, which is white privilege. And that's a hard crowd to beat, you know? So yeah, but definitely talk about that because
Yeah, like you're not meant to fit in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
you were put on this earth for a specific purpose to relay this message to the rest of the people, and what makes you think that you're like every single other person?
Yeah.
So if you really feel like you don't belong and you feel like, oh, there's something wrong with me, it's not something's wrong with you, it's you're
Something's
special.
in you.
Something's
Yes,
in you.
you're
And you have
special.
to tap into that, like find what your purpose is and align with that and like follow it, and you'll feel so much better.
Word.
But oh man, you did a perfect segue right there talking about school to prison pipeline. My school was my city is predominantly white. I grew up in San Ramon, California. It's about 40 minutes from San Francisco, the Bay Area. And yeah, I just never felt like I fit in. And I had experiences where white teachers would read the N-word in books and Kill a Mockingbird and call on white students to read the excerpts. And it was a thing.
Like,
Like,
they be waiting for that
they
day.
were waiting.
They be trying to
They wanna
normalize
say,
it. Like,
yes.
that word isn't bad anymore.
It's for the
history.
book.
It's for the book.
That's
Girl,
literally
no.
what she would say.
Because that means you're saying it outside the classroom.
Because you
Why
are
is
so
it
comfortable.
blow off your
Right.
tongue so easy?
Right.
Like, what? So yeah, I had a lot of those kind of experiences. I had a lot of friends be like, Tiana, give me the N-word pass. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what high school looks like these days.
I
Like,
saw this kid
isn't that
say he
crazy?
sold N-word passes in high school for $20 a pop. I was like,
I
bye.
hate our generation. It's stupid. Like, you guys look dumb. Can we all?
You look
Can we all?
dumb.
You guys
You
look
look
stupid.
dumb.
Let's
Oh,
not do that. He's about to die.
Goodbye.
He's about to die. But it's like seriously, it's so dumb. Like, I'm like, you guys are just so uneducated and just
Ignorant.
use words and energy so frivolously. Like, let's be intentional, please. Like,
For real.
you don't even know.
Let's be conscious.
Let's be conscious. Can we take a step back? Like, and growing up in that kind of environment, of course, I felt isolated. But it was really like high school, my sophomore year, I was suspended for having a vape device on campus. And I literally just had the device and like a little charger, and it wasn't even mine. And someone had said my name, someone who was white, a friend of mine, said my name to the principal and a few other kids, and we all got suspended. And we had to go to court, and we had a fine.
Court.
Yeah, the school pressed charges on us.
Court for a jewel sounds crazy.
They
My school would get shut down.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I didn't fight back. I was like, okay, like, I did something bad. I felt horrible. My self-confidence went down, 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 down. Like, academically, when you're in an environment of people who don't believe in you and you're being reprimanded, I've never gotten in trouble, like, at school like that, you know? And that was huge. The whole school knew about it. Everybody was talking about it. Like, and I felt like, dang, like, I'm not on the same level as my peers who aren't getting in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're put in it really messes with your brain. Like, I was like, dang,
put in court at a young age.
I'm 15 years old in court right now. Like, what am I doing? You know, like, my parents were pissed. Like, oh my god, my dad was mad.
Like, he should be. That's insane when you think about it.
Mad at the school, like,
no, they were mad at me. Like, nobody was pointing fingers at the school, and it wasn't until I graduated and looked back at it that I was like, I had to educate myself and know what the school to prison pipeline was, because it was like, why were these white kids who have the same experiences and have the same products on campus doing the same stuff and snitching on black kids? Why are they not getting in trouble? Yeah. But I did. Word. And I have this now in my transcript. When I had to apply to USC, I had to say that. You know what I mean? You have to talk about these things. And these are systemic barriers that people aren't even realizing because they're not taking the time to educate. And it's not taught in school.
It can be as small as that, for real.
And it's insane because I feel like a lot of people have this perception that Cali is so liberal and Cali doesn't go through racism. But Dolores Huerta works in Cali, and she was giving a speech and saying how, like, in one of the schools she works in, a 5-year-old girl in kindergarten was put in handcuffs at her school for something. There's not like... What? There's no reason that should ever happen on a campus. And, like, why are police even on a children's campus in general unless they're there to protect them? Like, they should not be there arresting students and stuff.
And these cops were not, they were, like, the root of policing is in white supremacy. They were literally slave catchers, so they were never here to protect us, period. Like, a cop will never come and protect me because... I
agree.
You can't, like... You are not even rooted in protection of the people that look like you.
Yeah, they are not for protection. And they don't protect, like, I saw a video of the school shooting in Texas and the cops were waiting outside for an hour. It's like,
are you kidding?
But you will shoot someone in 5 seconds for doing nothing.
They'll protect their lives before the people. Quick. So it's so contradictory to me. How are you here to protect the citizens, but you're protecting yourself?
Right. That's like
those that look like protection, you, not people's protection.
Even in the military, when you go to foreign countries and you're fighting in a war, you're only supposed to, like, shoot if you're shot at. Police are taught to shoot if they feel threatened in any way. That will never make sense to me. How do we have more respectable training for war than we do in our own country for our own citizens for protection?
Man, that's deep when you really think about it. That's really twisted, but that's the country we are living in. And every country, you know, has our problems, but, you know, that's why we're here. And that's why we have to fight and try to change as much as we can or bring awareness to this because, like, how we were saying the other day, like, we built this country, you know, and we can't really run from it no more. I mean, we can, but that's just going to leave our people here suffering.
Yeah, and our ancestors worked so hard for it to even get to this point. So it's
we can't give up.
We need to keep the ball rolling. We got to do it too.
And sometimes I feel completely hopeless with stuff like this. Like, you know, we're never going to be on the same pedestal as white people. But just think about how far we came in the last, like, 50 years. Like, our grandparents were civil rights movements in Jim Crow. Like, they were in what we're learning about, and now we're here. So, you know, who's to say where we're going to be in 50 years?
We had the biggest protest in history. Black Lives Matter was worldwide. So that's amazing for our generation. And also, I wanted to say, because you're talking a lot about anxiety, and I know me and Journey also have faced anxiety. In my class in activism, we read this reading, and it was talking about how there was a study where they took monkeys with anxiety out of the jungle because they wanted to study their anxiety. And then when they went back to bring the monkeys back, all the other monkeys had died because those monkeys with anxiety were the lookout monkeys. And they would suspect if something is wrong in the, like, jungle for the community of monkeys because they had anxiety and they were always on watch. And, like, he made this analogy that people with anxiety are often the lookouts for the world because everyone thinks they're crazy because they're like, so many things are wrong.
Oh my
God. It's really because you're just so sensitive to what's going on and you actually understand that stuff is wrong.
I always say that, you know, like, there's times when I'm like, man, I hate anxiety. Like, I wish I could get rid of this right now. But when you really think about it, like, the most successful people have anxiety and really battle it, because I just feel like we are the people who are like hypersensitive, intuitive, and also just always like, this needs to get done. This needs to get done. And sometimes I can lead to burnout, but a lot of times I feel like it's motivating. Like, I know I talked about this before, but like using anxiety as like my motivator sometimes, because instead of dwelling in it, like, why do I feel anxious? It's like, well, shoot, let me get some done then. Like, if I feel like I always need something to do, let me do it. Do something productive.
And that, like, I always used to feel like you feel like hopeless. How you said hopeless. I felt that way too for a long time. And it helps just to hear people, like, in the work. Like, when we went to go watch Angela Davis speak, that
was dope.
Definitely, like, changed my perspective so much. But also, I've just kind of learned to love it. Like, being socially aware and feeling empathy for other people. It's sad, but a lot of people don't have that. So when you have that, it really is a superpower. Like,
it's a gift.
I consider anxiety a superpower. Like, they're saying the anxiety monkeys, they look out and protect the community.
That's
and
hard,
often,
bro.
I would say that that's Black women. We're looking out for our community.
Not in a racist way.
For everyone.
There's no correlation there. Listen, that's a study. We just gotta separate the two.
No,
I was
Black women are the lookouts.
We are the lookouts. We're the
We are the
nurturers.
lookouts
We are
for
the
our Black men,
We
for
are.
our community, for everyone else. We are the ones who are socially aware on the front lines at all times.
Yes.
And can you talk about intersectionality in your organization? How important intersectionality is in activism in general?
Yeah, right. I'm a firm believer, not even a firm believer because this is true. You cannot be an activist or call yourself for the people if you're not for everybody. Like, everybody plays such a huge role in activism, in community building, unity, togetherness, all that stuff. Like, my organization works with all kinds of students from all kinds of different backgrounds with all kinds of passions and talents and whatnot. And I think it's really important to celebrate that because in order to find community, you have to feel that sense of belonging. And you can't say you support Black Lives Matter without saying, all the Black Lives Matter, including the Black trans woman, and that's intersections at feminism, that's intersections at LGBTQ plus rights. Like, that is multiple intersections. And when we talk about climate change, how is that disproportionately affecting Black and brown communities? That affects Black Lives Matter, and it's all intersectional. Like you said, like, everything is connected. Yeah, everything is connected. And so in order to be able to really educate each other and uplift each other, we have to create those places of community that are intersectional and do have like inclusive representation and like honest teaching. Like you and if you can't find that, I really firmly believe, like, I couldn't find community my whole life and I felt like an outcast and I didn't belong because I was meant to start stuff that allowed other people to do that.
I like
like that is what we do.
They said if you are not a person with a vision, a strong vision and passion, and know what you want to do, you will end up working for someone that does.
Yeah, man.
And I feel that.
And I really feel like a lot of this generation, like, we are the movers and shakers. We are the ones who, like, if I don't fit in here, I'm going to create a place that I do fit in.
Yeah.
Because I need to be a leader for
We are alone together.
We are alone together. Like, the loners aren't really alone. Like, we just got to come together in unity and make it happen. But in order to feel that, like, inspiration, you have to be surrounded by people like that.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this earlier, like, it's so important the people you surround yourself with are like-minded and are passionate about the same things you are.
Who are ambitious like us. And I can't be around people who aren't ambitious. I've learned that truly. Like, it is hard for me to function around people who are cool with being complacent. Like, I'm too on the go for that. Maybe I'm too anxious for that, but I can't. Like, we need to be pushing each other. Yeah. And the way our minds are wired, I feel like we all just have things we're getting after, and we can help each other. Like, I feel like, especially in the Black community, we be so competitive with each other sometimes.
Because we're really are competing for resources. We're competing for the crumbs of these white institutions.
Yeah.
And that's why
it's like we need to come together. The unity is stronger than the competition. And
it should be.
I don't like feeling like I'm in competition with people. I shut down in situations like that. And I just feel like that's a huge, like, I don't know, thing that holds people back from being activists, from being activists, for getting after their dreams and looking to the Black community for support instead of going to white people and white sources and resources and their money. Like, we could turn to the community and be so strong.
Yeah.
I feel like if we're just willing to help each other and just put the competition aside and be a resource for each other.
Yeah. The only person you should be competing with is yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Daily.
It's shared knowledge that will make us stronger. It will make us connected. It'll make, like, shared knowledge, I really believe, is how we can achieve Black liberation.
Where were we that they said that? I feel like I was somewhere and they said, what's knowledge if it's not meant to be shared? Like,
I don't
dang,
know, but
I don't know.
Where
that
was
was recent.
I?
That
It was
sounds
recent.
recent.
But he said, what's the point of knowledge? It was meant to be shared. That's why there's teachers. That's why there's schools. Like, if it wasn't meant to be put out, we wouldn't be learning.
Yeah.
Period. And I feel that.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was where I heard that. But
That's-
shout out
that
who said that.
Yeah, I definitely feel that, and I feel that is very important. Like, as Black people, that we understand not only our liberation and our struggles and what we need as a community, because I feel like that's a big thing that gets missed in activism. Like, a lot of us understand our history, we understand it's wrong, but we need to come up with what we need as a community. Like, what do we
Yeah.
need moving
We need
forward?
calls to action.
Like, calls to action. We also need to know about different communities. Like, for example, in my class right now, I'm learning about, like, Arab American women feminists. And it's just really interesting to learn about different communities and their needs as well. And that's where intersectionality comes in. Like, if you want to fight for your liberation, you have to know about other things that are going on to form coalition, because in any movement, it's important to have people from different races in your movement.
Right.
That's what makes a movement really go overboard. That's what made Black Lives Matter so amazing. It was everyone out there, whether they did it for Instagram or not. Y'all was still out there.
Right.
So, period. We did it.
That's
Exactly. And that brings me to another point of, like, performative activism. Like,
Get into
man,
it.
we can talk about this, because obviously 2020, a lot of people were noticing a lot of the performative stuff. I
The trend.
got pulled into this space because I was sick of the performative stuff. Like, literally, I started organizing because I was sick of my classmates and peers pretending that they were for the people and Black Lives Matter, this and that. Here's my black screen I'm posting on Tuesday.
Screen.
Shut
The
up.
black screen.
The
I
black
still see that
screen
on
on
people's
Tuesday.
Instagram, and I'm like,
Be for real.
The black screen on
it's always
Tuesday.
white, but I still got it up too.
I'm like, you think you're so
That will be in history books. Everyone posted a black screen on their Instagram.
Like, goodbye.
No,
I'm
like,
sorry.
y'all
We
really
love the
just,
movement.
you put your
but
hand over your camera and then took the picture.
They thought they ate
They
with
thought
that
they ate
one.
with that
No,
one.
they thought they were part of the movement and supporters.
You know what? Oh my god, revelation just came to me right now. They thought they were part of the community. Like, everybody is searching for that sense of community, and what they saw in
Was a way
the black screens trend thing was a way in to feel a part of the community.
They thought they was gonna get their N-word passed.
They thought that was the impasse, that black screen, literally.
They thought they was gonna
But,
get
like,
their
look how
N-word
powerful we are. Look how powerful we are to be able to create that, and people can feel that through social media, that we have that sense of community, we have that power, and they want in. We cannot let just anybody in to that. Like, you really have to protect that energy.
Do you feel like activism needs to be gatekept? Like, do you feel there's obviously white allies and activists, but does that bother you? Do you think that it needs to be strictly us fighting for us?
No, absolutely not. I think absolutely there's power in unity, there's power in allyship, but I think really, as Black women, we need to be our priority needs to be uplifting community before educating every single other person and, like, building that. I know I'm preaching a lot about, like, unity and using allyship and stuff, but you have to really have your center at investing in your people. Like, we have to be able to share this knowledge with our people who look like us, so we can educate them and they can be people who go on and share the message as well. Like, if I have this message to share with people, I can't be the only one preaching it. I'm not Jesus. Like, and even Jesus needed his followers. Jesus needed people who
disciples.
came with him and are continuing to share his message today. Like, we need to do that. And education starts in the community. It starts with the things that come to you late at night where you're like, dang, maybe that's why this is the way it is.
Yeah.
Share it with somebody who you trust, who you know is on the same path as you, because they're going to take that thought and they're going to move it into the next thing. And that's what is the
True.
most powerful thing I feel like about organizing and coalitions and shared knowledge is like the ability to educate people through what your ancestors are telling you and channeling in through you already.
Yeah.
Like that's step number one. Cool, you have your group of people who are like-minded and you guys are, continuing to have all these realizations. Now bring in allies, bring in people that are from other cultures and other
resources.
Exactly, who have other resources and have other perspectives and mindsets, and bring them into that. But you have to have your center first and your core, and make sure, one, you're good, the people who look like you, your representation, your community is good, and then boom, go share the knowledge. That's like 3 steps.
And lay the foundation.
I agree.
Yeah.
I feel like solidarity is so important when it comes to movements, when it comes to activism, just because, like I said earlier, if you're going to fight for your liberation, you have to understand the liberation of all people, because everything's connected.
Mm-hmm.
What we're buying here affects someone in China, affects someone in Africa, so how can you not fight for everyone? And the second thing is that the more diversity you have in a group of activists, the more innovative ways you're going to come up with to go about activism. Like, I remember Angela Davis said when they first did the sit-in, they didn't know what they were doing. They were like kids like us. They were like 18, 17, and they all were just like, we're just going to do this. They did it. It was like the biggest movement that happened at that time. Everyone started doing sit-ins, and it's crazy to think like a small idea and we don't know what we're doing, and it's just like a little thing that we came up
Just
with
like
in
the
our
Golden
head
Gate.
can be one of the biggest. It can be one of the biggest things.
Impulsive
And
moments.
was one of the biggest
Yes.
protests in Cali. So, y'all, I can't get over that. That's dope. I did not know that you organized that. So.
Yeah.
And I remember
It's
seeing
hard.
it on the news. So
Right.
full circle moment.
Full
Right.
circle, yes. But really, like, that's why we're here. Like, that's why you guys started this podcast. Like, that's why we see so much youth advocacy right now, is because people are waking up to their path and their purpose on how to relay the messages that come through to from our ancestors. Like, Angela Davis went and did that sit-in because her ancestors told her it doesn't matter what you know and don't know, go out there and do something about it. Like, I didn't know how to organize the protest. I literally showed up, I posted a Canva graphic, and I showed up with 3 cases of water bottles thinking I could give one to every single person. Like, that's what I thought I could do. And it's really not the little logical like thing. Sometimes it really doesn't make sense. Like, I'm like, why am I doing this? It really doesn't make sense. I'm not the one in control right now. I'm not the one driving right now. Like, the higher power is guiding me to make these decisions and follow my path, my intuition. Like, when you're really tapped in like that, that's when life becomes easier. Like, mental illness dissipates. Like, I really feel aligned, and I feel better, and I feel happier, and I don't feel like I'm living for anyone else. I'm living for myself, and to make the future better for the people and the generations that come after me. Like, that's what I feel is like the purpose of life. Like, I feel like I found my purpose, and everybody has a purpose in a way that they can contribute to making the world better. You just have to tap into it, and you really have to like meditate on it and think about it and take the signs and the thoughts that come through your mind and believe that it happened for a reason. Like, don't doubt yourself, because you're having these thoughts and these feelings for a reason.
I feel like that, like I always say, COVID was a great thing. Like, it was really devastating to a lot of people, and I'm sorry if y'all like went through, loss and all that. But what came out of COVID, I don't know, man. Like, Black Lives Matter movement, I feel like people really had to sit with themselves in COVID. Like, mental health took a huge, like, the way that BLM skyrocketed, so did mental health. I feel like
because of online resources.
Resources. And I feel like, our generation has all the access in the world to resources. And COVID kind of showed us that. I feel like, we have everything at our fingertips right now, really, honestly, because of the internet and social media. But I mean, if we're gonna do it, like, do it, you know what I'm saying? And utilize those resources that are right here. Like, it's so easy to get tapped in with somebody these days because of social media. And I mean, everybody know I hate social media, but when it comes to that, it's just like, that's a great tool. And like, that is a new form of, our voice now. And with activism, like, social media plays a huge role now.
It is. In my social activism class, we literally talk about like studies on how social media helped with like Black women and say her name protests. And we did it was a study on Twitter and how many people use the hashtag, but using this hashtag say her name, it was all about like Black women and violence, but it literally led people to take action. Like, people were signing trees, people were doing things, people were meeting up. I think it was like 500,000 tweets that were with this hashtag, but that's our new form of activism, really. Like,
It
when we
is.
can reach, the beautiful thing about it is we can reach people anywhere in the world. We
Mhm.
have access to the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's really amazing. Except China. They're not going to let them see our stuff.
The crazy thing about that too, and social media just in general, I know we're going on a little tangent, but like social media, you have to think about that. We weren't meant to see this amount of people.
Yeah.
We weren't meant to.
I was not meant to know what's going on in everybody else's life.
Exactly, and we were literally not supposed to have access. We weren't supposed to be able to talk to this many people. Like, fathom the amount of faces that we see on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Like, you see a group picture, okay, that's 12 faces you didn't see before.
Yeah.
Like, that's
and
that's a
access
lot.
to their life by clicking on their page.
And we
Yeah,
have access to them in real life.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I even met you on Instagram. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not normal. That's weird, kind of. Like, high key. Like, that's really weird. But you can use that for change, which is really cool now. But like, we have to think about that sometimes. Like, when
It's
I
a
feel
networking tool. I see it as.
and when I feel insecure, like watching like these Instagram models and all this stuff, I'm like, your life is so like I
You
would
don't know
rather
their
be
life.
living
Yeah.
life present, like right here in this moment,
Than
than like
having to
curating
keep up.
the perfect feed. And I'm totally
Yeah.
not saying that I'm not victim, but I've done this before. You know what I mean? Like, I've curated a perfect Instagram feed, or like wanted to look some type of way, or didn't post or repost something because I didn't want to look a certain way. Like, I have a message to share with the world, and I need to be using my platform to do that. Like, it would be a disservice to the generations, to the kids, to the people who feel the same way I once did, and not put the information out there using these platforms and this networking. Like, when you really are true to yourself on social media, you attract the right
people. Exactly. I always say that. Like, people who blow up, well, I don't have TikTok, but I'm assuming all the people who blow up on there, you know, they're doing like random stuff and they're just being themselves.
Yeah.
Like, what's going viral is people being quote unquote weird. But, you know, it's really just them being themselves, being different. And we need to acknowledge, like, or praise the different, not the same.
Yeah. And I feel like Instagram is kind of hard to, like, really showcase yourself because it's just pictures. So, like, people get so many perceptions of you just from your pictures. Like,
and
I don't
that's
think
the
people
perfect
would know.
picture. Like, come on now.
Yes.
Yeah.
People wouldn't know, like, I'm an activist, I feel like, from my Instagram. And I think that's what makes me, like, hate it a little bit.
I mean, you can control that though.
Yeah,
like, you can put your activism out there, but at the same time, it's like you don't access people.
Evil. I'm Mexican, so I don't want no evil eye on my Instagram.
I feel
That's
that.
why I'm gatekeeping my life from y'all.
But at the same time, I thought that way, and I was like, I will only post like pictures where I look cute and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, we all been there.
Like, sometimes you
Like-
just gotta show them though. Like,
Yeah.
where
But,
else
like,
am I gonna use these for?
Yeah,
My
well,
granny.
yes. Like, so that's my mom, so she can have me up.
Like, no.
But like,
No,
yes, post your cute pictures. Yeah, I mean, honestly, do whatever you want on social media.
Yeah,
Do
right.
what you
Do
want.
what you want.
y'all do.
But
That's cool. Alright, guys.
that's the end of the podcast. Y'all take what you got from that. But yeah, like, I feel like I really went through a hard time, like, going through the transition of like, I'm an Instagram hot girl to like, oh, I'm an activist, and I'm like, I'm for the kids, I'm for the people. But it's like, you can be all of the above.
You can.
And like, I used to be so like, oh, I need to post this picture, blah, 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 so this so-and-so can see it, and blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, you be thinking about certain people. Maybe you're talking to somebody, and you think that, you know, you're going to post this picture, he's going to think you're cute or whatever. Okay, and if you post some activism stuff, is he still going to think you're cute? Like, and
If you
you're
don't,
not,
then
if
why
don't,
you
then
care?
It's not for you. You know what I mean? And I think, like, for my sisters, like, younger girls who, like, talk to me about social media all the time, I always try to say that because I cared so much about how people thought about me and how I was perceived on Instagram. And I've said this so many times this week, but I heard in yoga from my yoga teacher that she said, it's not your responsibility to, like, know how other people, well, it's, how do I say it? The way people perceive you is not your responsibility.
Oh yeah.
That stuck with me. Like, it's not, if you think,
You said that in church. We're not responsible for other people's perceptions of
yes,
us.
yeah, we're not, because the way that you see me and I come
It will
up
never be
to-
what you see yourself as.
exactly, and
Ever.
no one will ever see me the way I see
And
myself.
everybody sees through what they
Have
can
been through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What they're lens of eyes or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, that is what they see. Everybody's eyes are different. Everybody's experiences are different. Exactly. Everybody's judgments are going to be different because it's all based on what we've gone through.
Yeah. And you don't even know the level of power that you have to. Right. So, like, on the other end of that, it's like you could say something that clicks with someone and makes them start their empire. You know what I mean? Like,
Facts.
like you have so much power,
Facts.
And sometimes when you just share your
one
knowledge,
can change someone's life.
Like, that yoga teacher probably didn't even know. I mean, I'm sure she does because yoga teachers are very healing. But like, you know, some people have no idea how one sentence, one affirmation, one piece of advice or knowledge can set someone on their path.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's just really important. Like the power of social media, we have such.
It is powerful.
It's really powerful, depending on the way you use it. But sometimes you got to get out of your mind and really reevaluate. Like, what do I want to do with this platform?
Whether and when you have the platform, use it. Like, I get irritated when people have the platform and don't speak out on stuff. Like, come on, bro. Like, you have an activist down the street who's out on the front lines doing stuff. They don't have a social media presence. They would love to have that. Like, you know, highlight the community, bring awareness to the movements. Like, don't be silent because in this day and age, we can't afford to be silent.
And as Black people, even if you like aren't going to speak on your platform, if you're someone with a lot of money, at least give people money to the people that are doing the work.
Yeah,
that's the very minimum you could do. It's people out here really doing the work. At least donate to a nonprofit, someone that's doing the organizing. If you're not going to do it yourself, if you're not going to post it, like I know Jay-Z and Beyonce, they donate a lot of money everywhere, not only here but in Africa. Like they do some really amazing stuff.
They're doing stuff for the
and
people,
that's why, and I feel like that's why they don't talk about it because they're just about that action. And I like that. That's different. They're donating millions of dollars. Some people, Michael Jordan, aren't donating anything and not saying nothing and hanging with all white people on boats.
Man,
like,
and that's why LeBron's the GOAT.
End story.
No, but I want to touch on really quick just how you're managing the nonprofit in college and like how that's been, and you know, balancing mental health, all that.
Man, okay. For context, what do I got going on? 18 credits. For school, I have my nonprofit I'm running. I have an internship doing ethnic studies curriculum. I'm doing traveling and doing these speaking engagements. Like, there's a lot of stuff on the plate. I'm probably forgetting stuff even there. But I used to think it was so cool that I felt like, oh, I have more than 24 hours in a day. Like, the people around me, like, I used to glorify, like, the workaholic lifestyle, you know? And I'm telling you, like, and this is even last week. This is even a few days ago. I will be at the office from, like, 9 a.m. until 3 in the morning. Like, leave to go get food, use the bathroom, whatever, but be right back in there, like, working all day long. And I really glorified this, like, workaholic lifestyle until I realized, dang, I get burned out. Like, I have to take advantage of this time where I have this, like, this energy because I'm going to get burned out soon, and you can slowly start to feel it, and then you get burned out, and then you want to quit and forget everything, and you're like, I don't even want to do this anymore, and then you come right back up, and it's addictive. Like, I feel like through trauma, like, I realized, like, I was always living in a constant state of chaos, and I feel comfortable in that, and that's why I want to constantly work, so I don't have to, like, deal with what I have inside. Like, that's really deep. That's really deep. And, like, I know me working and being addicted and so passionate about my work is a result of my trauma and being unable to sit still and, like, really sit with myself and be like, you know, how do I get more grounded? How do I align better with myself and feel better about myself so I'm not experiencing burnout like this? Because you don't have to be someone who gives, and then has to crash and burn until I can give again. Like, I need to be able to do half and half. Like, I can be doing all this great stuff that I'm passionate about, but I can also choose myself and say no to things.
Water while being watered.
Yeah, and I have a really hard time with that. Like, really, I really do. And this weekend has been so healing because I've spent it, like, every day with you guys, and I'm actually doing things that make me happy. Like, I really need to center that again and, like, be able to get grounded and spend time. Like, spending time in nature has been a really, really great way for me to kind of reconnect myself with the earth, like reconnect myself with things that make me feel good, like
Mhm.
the natural stuff, like drinking our herbal teas and everything, going to church, like
Yoga.
these are all yoga, absolutely, like these are all things that have really helped me recharge, and kind of teach myself about healing and how that correlates to my burnout and to my mental health. Because really balance is so important.
I think that was like my theme of my freshman year of college. Like, it was funny because I went to this little spiritual like crystal store, and they had like these magic candles, and it was like you have a word and you burn it till it like goes out. And the one that I gravitated towards was balance. And then I was like, I really do need balance. Like, I'm all over the place. At the time, my anxiety was like through the roof. And I know when I'm operating out of my anxiety, because that's when I'm like on the go, always needing something to do to suppress the anxiety. But it's really just the anxiety that's telling me you need something to do. You need something to do. Don't stop. And then that always takes me to my burnout. But it's like how you're saying, like, in the midst of the chaos is finding the grounding points. And it's possible, of course, to overcome the operating out of chaos. But I feel like people who have grown comfortable to that, like, you just really have to find those things that ground you and recenter you. Because some people, I think, like you said, they're addicted to that. Like, they like that feeling because it helps them get things done. But it's really like, okay, are you overexerting yourself, or are you getting stuff done and being productive?
Yeah. That's, and it's a huge thing I deal with on a day-to-day basis. Like, and even when I'm like, oh, okay, I need to have a day at home. Like, I need to rest today. I feel like I was doing things that were unproductive. Like, being productive spiritually in a healing sense is very different.
So it's different.
Like, you really have to define what being productive is to you, because in every way, shape, and form, like, are the conversations that you're having with your friends, are they recharging you?
Are they intentional?
Are they intentional? Are you feeling more drained or recharged after you hang out with someone? Like, that's living, like, purposefully. Like, I'm doing everything very intentional now with my life. The people I spend my time with, like, are they adding to me? Are they giving me something, or are they taking from me? And like, how do I find that balance in that sense, and like protect myself from that kind of energy? And how do I know when too much is too much? Like, I can hang out with my friends, and I could love hanging out with you guys, but like, dang, if I need to recharge, like, how do I have my own boundaries to set to be like, okay, I need to go home and like reset. And if I'm gonna take a day to, chill at home, am I just gonna be sitting on my phone all day, like laying in bed?
What's your definition of recharge? Because sitting in bed on the phone is not recharging.
No, it's not. Go outside, like
the Lulus.
Journal at minimum, like
do something super intentional. Because I think for me the biggest thing was my mom and my sisters are homebodies. Like, they love being at home and just chilling all day, and I'm like, how do you do that?
I hate it.
I can't do it.
I can't be at home, and I know that. Like, there's days I can spend maybe half the day inside, but I gotta do something.
Sometimes I like being inside, but I honestly just love nature because we come from nature. So if you're disconnected with nature, you're disconnected from yourself.
That was the biggest realization I've had this month, was like what was missing, why I couldn't sit still so much, and like
this is concrete jungle.
And like I'm
really
sitting
messes
in
you
bed
up.
all day and just
LA is an imbalance.
Like concrete jungle, living in a city where you don't see stuff like natural hills, grass coming out of the ground, and with trees coming out of the ground, it really affects you. Like, I don't know, like just going to the Bay Area,
campus is like
seeing all those hills and stuff. Like, I just literally felt so much
amazing.
better. I'm like, it's nature. That's like, thank God.
That's why we needed to go. But yeah, for real.
We're going
back. That was a recharge trip.
Like,
that was a
recharge. Beautiful. That's why I love living in the Bay, and I think that maybe that's a big reason why I felt so much burnout coming to LA.
Yeah. Do you think the Bay impacted your activism?
100%. Oh my gosh, so much. Because
I think it's dope coming from the Bay.
Yeah,
like,
the Bay.
I wish I was from the Bay. Like, that was
from the Bay so bad. Hard. If anyone from the Bay wants to give me a Bay Area pass, I'll buy it.
I'll step it on you.
She wouldn't be from the Bay. So
y'all just move out to the Bay after school, and we could just all be happy in Berkeley and Oakland. So. Yeah. Like, I like the Bay. Like, specifically Berkeley and Oakland has been really recharging for me, because I have family history there. Like, really deep family history. And I didn't grow up from those places, but I find myself on my free days or when I want to do homework, like I will literally go to, I have a WeWork office. I will go to these cities of like family history for me, and I will do my work there, or I'll go to the park there, and like you just see people are like really present, but there's also so much hurt in these communities, like all these like very deep spiritual activist communities. There's also a lot of pain and healing that occurs, and you have to find the healing spaces because people pour their energy a lot into these towns. You know, like there's so much there. And for me, like growing up, kind of not close enough to like be there every day, but like that is recharging for me. Is going to Lake Merritt or like going hiking in San Francisco and these places with like deep culture and community. Like that's why I organize in these spaces and meet people from these spaces and learn about it and like really recharge here. Like these are recharging places for me, and that's how South Central feels right now for me too. Like being out in the community, going to the yoga studio that we go to, and like finding this new church and all this stuff. Like these are healing spaces in towns with a lot of hurt and a lot of history of people just trying to take away our power, and we have to really take into consideration how much healing has to be done and how much restoration can be done when you find your community and you really uplift these people with you. Like that's how I feel about it. And like I have so much love for the Bay Area, like where I grew up and the cities that have influenced me and my families, and like not even the cities that I grew up in, but like my cousins and my grandparents and my ancestors like grew up in, because I go to these spaces and I still feel them there. Like you feel their energy there. And that's why I really encourage people to like look up your ancestry and do that research, because you can find healing in spaces that you've never even been to before.
That's facts.
That is facts.
I really want to ask you before we close this out, what is some advice that you would give to a young activist that's just getting started on their journey and really wants to get into organizing?
Stay true to yourself and control your narrative, because it is so easy. And I definitely have had my time where you have 1,000 people giving you advice or telling you what you should do. And you're also seeking advice because you don't know what you're doing. But really, if you're spiritual, meditate on it, like pray about it, like journal about it, but really get to know yourself. Like the biggest thing about activism, because it's such a personal journey for everyone, is like you have to really know yourself and know what your clear messaging is, what you want to do, what kind of people you want to impact. Like make a mood board. I don't know, like know exactly what your vision is for yourself, and it's gonna change. You don't have to beat yourself up when it changes. Like know what you want to do. My dad was giving me all this advice because he was like, "Oh, we didn't do this and we didn't do this, and I need you to do this in order to be more successful than we did." Like he got so excited. This was something we were talking about in church too. Church was great this morning. If we keep talking about it, but like she was talking about, my dad had all these plans for me, and he gets so excited for me, and it's like our parents sometimes channel that energy through us, but you have to take a step back sometimes and be like, look, like what do I really want to do? Like what is my purpose? What is my impact, and what do I want to leave with the world when I leave this earth? Because you can't take money. You can leave money to create generational wealth, but you can't take that with you. That can't be your main focus. Like all of this materialistic stuff, like buying that Gucci belt or that Prada bag, like whatever it is, like that can't be your goal. Your end goal cannot be something that's materialistic. It can't be buying that house. Like it has to be something that's really meaningful and to your core value. And when you discover that, that's when you'll find your best aligned with what your purpose is. It'll be clear. Like you'll have the answers. You'll know what you're searching for. And activism and making impact just will flow supernaturally. So,
period. Thank you so much. Well, that was great. I'm really glad we opened the conversation about activism during this lovely month. It's the end of the month, but we got it in. Yes. And just like, you always say, we feel like it's the reason you met us. I feel like it's the reason we met you. You're plugging us into the community a whole lot, and I appreciate that. So much is about to come from the three of us.
Yes. Abundance, love, and opportunity. Build that community.
Amen. So thank y'all for watching this lovely episode. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, follow our social media, and audio versions are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So
thank you guys.
Cheers to that.
Bye.
Can you stop it?